back from our hiatus here. I want to once again thank Nicole for putting everything together, and thank Rabbi Lashak for being with us again. I just want to remind everybody that this is brought to us by NCSY's Judah Fellowship. And for anybody who is interested, we have opened up the application for the fall semester. So I'll post the link. It's ncsy.org/Judah. If anybody wants to find more information or to apply, and we hope to hear from some of you guys. So without further ado, I will hand the reins over here to Rabbi Lashak, who we all came to hear and see.
Okay, I am seeing double Lexi. I don't know what's going on over there. It's like I didn't even drink today.
Sorry, I had gotten home from dinner and was on my phone while I was getting situated, and then I switched to my computer.
That's fine. I just want to make sure I'm not drunk when I haven't even had alcohol in a week, but okay. All righty. If you guys can show me your beautiful faces, it helps a lot because, I'm showing you my ugly face. So I figure, you can show me your beautiful faces. Today I want to talk about an important topic that I personally think that is one of the most important things that we have to know in Judaism. It doesn't matter how much you've learned. You could be, you could have many rabbinical degrees, or you could be somebody you've never left, you never even went to Sunday school. This is something that if you are able to follow for the next 25, 30 minutes, Judaism will become much, much more clear to you. So with your permission, I'm going to start very slowly. I'm going to start telling a story, and then I'm going to get a little deeper and deeper and deeper. And then hopefully we'll stop for questions and answers. I don't have anywhere to go tonight, so you can keep me here for a long time. Adonai sevatai tiftach ufi yagid teilatecha la'asot nachat ruach leyotzreinu. So I'll start with a story that happened around in the 1880s. The story I'm about to tell you is absolutely incredibly crazy. It's so unbelievable, Meshuggah. This story is crazy. You never heard anything like this in your life, but it's true. It is true. It's been told. I heard it from Rabbi Lau, the chief rabbi of Israel, the father who was the chief rabbi. I heard it from his son, the chief rabbi today, and I've heard it from other great sages, and I've seen it written in 2 holy books. So what I'm telling you is true, which makes it so unbelievable. Around the 1880s, in what would be today somewhere in the borders of Russia and Poland, is hard to know because the border has changed between 1880 to now. Sometimes it's Russia, sometimes it's Poland, sometimes it's Ukraine, sometimes it's different. The border changes constantly, especially since 1880. There was a little town called Chichenik. The town is still there. And I think today is Russia. Chichenik, this little town in the border of Russia and Poland, lived a very, very wealthy man, incredibly wealthy. Now, this guy was so unbelievable wealthy. And what happens is, he was a very wealthy man, but he was very, how do you say when people who have a lot of money are different? They call them, anybody?
Stingy?
No, he wasn't stingy. What was the word? When you have somebody who's very rich, but he's
Eccentric?
very weird. Eccentric. Thank you very much, John. So therefore, this guy was very eccentric. And this guy was very wealthy. He built himself a beautiful palace. He actually brought all the pieces from this beautiful palazzo. He actually built himself a palace, a Venetian palace, an Italian palace, palazzo. He brought all the marble, pink marble from Italy. I'm going back in the 1800s in Russia. Can you imagine how wealthy this man was? Every piece of his palace was brought from Venice, from Italy. Unbelievable wealthy. And, uh, this guy, he didn't mind helping people, not at all. As a matter of fact, in one of the entrances, he would give food to poor people. And in another entrance, one second, I'm sorry, I'm translating it from 4 languages. Hold on. I'm sorry, I never do this. Please forgive me. It'll be worth it. One second. Oh, yeah. So I'm sorry. So what happens is this guy, he he was he was a crazy guy. He had a mishigas. He was a very wealthy man, and he decided that he had a crazy thing. His palace, no one is allowed to walk into his palace. And the worst thing anybody could do is walk into his palace without permission. And the worst thing, what he hated the most is mud, M-U-D. Mud, the dirt with with the little water, you find it in the streets. So the people from TJJ are going, oh, I heard this story. Correct. This is a famous story I tell in TJJ all the time. And it will help you a lot, this story again. So what happens, this crazy guy is like, he didn't want mud in his life. And his palace was beautiful. It was absolutely gorgeous. He didn't care. If you want money, go to the east door, they'll give you money. If you want medicines, you go to the north door. If you want a loan, you go to the west door. Just one condition, nobody's allowed in my palace, especially in the top floors. Venetian, beautiful marble brought from Venice, from Italy, and that's it. That's his Meshigas, this crazy guy, very weird guy. One day, the Abbas Yisrael, which was the greatest Torah giant in the world, comes in. This Hasidic Rebbe, big guy, walks in with 20 Hasidim. He walks in, pushes aside the guy who's at the door, walks into the palace. He walks in with 20 of his Hasidim, and he's making a mess. It had rained the night before, and this is not this is Russia, 1800s. There's no real roads, and there is mud everywhere, and they're leaving mud everywhere. And the first floor, they can't find the rich guy. They go to the second floor, third floor, fifth floor. There is mud everywhere. Finally, the rich guy comes down, and he's so upset, and he's about to throw them all out. And he realizes, oh my God, this is the greatest Jew in the world, called the Abbas Israel, the Abbas Israel, the lover of all Jews. This Hasidic Rebbe, this giant of a Torah man, so he cannot get rid of him. He really wants to tell him, please, Rabbi, go outside, take your Hasidim, but he doesn't say that. He finally sits down, the Rebbe, and he says, please, what do you want? Whatever you need, money, whatever you want, food, whatever, medicines, whatever you want, I'll give it to you. Just do me a favor. Tell all your Hasidim to leave my palace because it bothers me. I like it a clean place. Now, the Rebbe sitting down tells the rich guy, I'm going to tell you a story. It's a story within a story. So can you imagine this now? This big Hasidic Rebbe, this giant, this Torah giant is sitting down, and he has in front of him this strange, this eccentric Jew who's very wealthy, who hates mud. And he says to him, I am going to tell you a story, listen carefully. And he says to him, around 100 years ago, not far from here, which would be on the 1700s, in the middle of 1700s, lived another Jew. And this Jew was also very wealthy. And this Jew was a horrible, horrible Jew. And he never did anything good in his life. So let me recap. The story is that the Hasidic Rebbe is telling the rich guy who hates mud, He's telling him a story that 100 years ago around this area lived another Jew who was very wealthy. He was a horrible Jew, never did anything good in his life. He was so wealthy, he had his own forest, he had his own orchards, he had his own rivers, he had his own bridges. And one day, he gets on his white horse and he starts traveling. And it starts to rain, this tremendous storm, tremendous rain. And what happens is like, he realizes it's time to go back to this beautiful house, this beautiful palace that he has. Remember, this is the story that the Rebbe is telling the rich guy who hates mud. He's telling him a story that happened 100 years ago to another Jew who is a horrible guy who's going on his white horse, looking at his beautiful woods, and he's going around, starts the rain, the storm, and he wants to go back home, and he becomes a storm. And as he's turning around, he's suddenly in the woods, he hears, Hatzileini, Hatzileini. He hears something very strange. And he gets closer and he hears someone screaming, please help me, help me. And he's thinking to himself, first of all, we're in the middle of the woods. There's not even a road here. There's nothing going on. Who could be calling out? I'm probably going crazy. By now, he's all wet and he's all upset. He's never helped anyone in his life. He's about to turn around and he suddenly hears one more time, Hatzileini, Hatzileini, please help. He suddenly realizes, he remembers that his grandfather once showed him that behind those woods, there used to be an old road. And in that old road, there was a bridge. And he remembers, as a little kid, there used to be a bridge behind those woods. Maybe someone got stuck. So what did he do? This rich guy who's never done anything good in his life, he gets off his horse. He has this beautiful cape, like a purple, beautiful, like royal cape. And he gets full of mud. And he's like swimming, he's walking on the mud. The mud is up to here. It gets all full of mud. And he finally moves around the woods, the trees, and he sees exactly what he remembered a long time ago. He sees there is an old road, and he sees there is an old bridge on top of a river. And the bridge, in top of the bridge, there is a wagon. In top of the wagon, there is a woman. And in the wagon, there is a baby and a dog, a wah-wah, woof, woof, a doggy, a wah-wah. And this guy realizes, oh my God, he's never done anything good in his life. And he's like, I don't know what to do. And the woman is screaming, please help me. Okay. So he decides, he goes over and he takes the baby. He takes the baby and he pulls the baby to safety. And then he comes back and the woman says, save me. And he's like thinking, I don't know. He goes back, he picks up the woman and saves the woman. He saves the woman. And then the woman says to him, says, the bridge is about to collapse. You can see, you can hear the river is growing. It's about to destroy the bridge. The bridge is about to collapse. He's so scared. This low life. He's never done anything good in his life. And the woman says, you have to save my horses. I'm a widow. And this is the only thing I have. Without the horses, I will starve to death. You have to save the horses. And he's like, he goes back, disengages the horses from the wagon, and he saves the horses. And the woman says, you have to save the wawa. You have to save the doggy. And this guy's like, what? The wawa? I gotta risk my life for a dog? No way. And at that moment, the baby's crying for the wawa. The baby's saying, whatever his name is, Pluto, you need to save Pluto. Okay, and the guy feels bad for the baby. This is the only companion. They're so poor. The kid doesn't have a playground. The kid doesn't have anything. All he has is this dog. And this lowlife who never did anything in his life runs back into the wagon, saves the doggy. The wawa puts the doggy He saved the mother, he saved the baby, he saved the horses, he saves the wow, and at that moment, the bridge collapses, the wagon goes down into the river, and that's it. This guy who's never done anything good in his life gets back in his horse, turns around, and he starts heading home. And at that moment, he gets a heart attack and he dies. You remember, this is a story that the Hasidic Rebbe is telling the rich guy who hates mud. You remember, yes? He's telling him the story that this guy who saved everybody, suddenly after saving everybody, gets a heart attack and dies. You know what happens with this guy? They take him to heavenly court. This is what the Hasidic master is telling the rich guy who hates mud. The guy who died 100 and some years ago near here, when he dies, they take him up to heavenly court. And you know how it works in heavenly court? They suddenly bring you all this, wagon. Now you can hear a wagon going. And this guy's freaking out. He says, what's going on? And they give him this little angel to assist him. And the angel doesn't know much. He's never really done much defending. And he tells the guy, he says, that's the wagon of all your sins. In top of the wagon, there's envelopes. And the envelopes, they show, your sins. Oh my God. And they bring this huge wagon, and the wagon just goes backwards and dumps all the letters, in top of a table. And there's a huge mountain. And he realizes these are all my sins. These are horrible things that I've done. Oh my God. And he's like, this is bad. And then he hears a little wagon. And he goes, what is that? What's going on? He says, oh, that's the good things you've done. The good things I've done? I've never done anything good in my life. And they suddenly in the wagon, they bring the woman. They bring the baby. And that's it. So, they decide to take all the letters, all the sins, they put on one side of the scale, and the scale completely goes down like this. And they say, take him away. He's a bad guy. That's it. He's a horrible man. Take him away. And he says, the little angel starts screaming, says, well, 1 second, put the woman in there in the scale, put the baby. And they put the woman and the baby in the scale, and he goes like this, but he's still more bad than good. So they say, take him away. And at that moment, the little angel starts going crazy, and he goes, whoa, 1 second. Put the horses in there. He saved the horses. Everybody's laughing. All the angels are laughing. They never heard anything so crazy in their lives, and they don't know what to do. So you know what? They ring up there to, the main boss. They call the creator of the world, and they say, boss, what do we do? Do we put the horses in the scale? And God says, absolutely, they're my creations. He saved them. He saved the horses. So they actually throw the horses into the scale, and the scale goes almost there, but still more evil than good. Take him away. And the little angel's going crazy. He says, wait, stop. What about the wow? What about the wow? Put the dog in there. Everybody's laughing. Okay, the horses, people, you can make a living with it. Horses, they work, but the wow. I mean, everybody loves the wow, but what does it do for humans? It says God, they call God, and God says, no, he's my creation, and he brings pleasure to the child. Put the wawa in the scale. And suddenly it's almost identical, but it's still one minute little thing going on, more evil. Take him away. And they start taking him away, and then the little angel's jumping up and down. He's going crazy, the little angel. And they tell him, what else is there? I mean, you already put the horses, you put the wawa, there's nothing left. And the little angel says, put in the scale the mud, M-U-D, the dirt, the mud. This lowlife who never did anything good in his life, you know what? He got himself dirty to save this woman and this child. Put the mud Everybody's laughing. They decide to call heaven, and God says, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. I'm not going to decide now. I'm going to reincarnate this guy. I'm going to give him a lot of money. I'm going to make him very wealthy. And there's only one thing in life that is important for him. If he likes mud and he can live with mud, we'll add it to the account and it will be equal. And then I, God, will put my finger and I'll let him go into the Garden of Eden. But if he doesn't like mud, if he hates mud for some kind of reason, he's never going to be allowed into the Garden of Eden. And this is what the Hasidic master is telling the rich guy who hates mud. Do you know who you are? You are that low life. You were reincarnated. And you're about to die today. And that's why I'm here, to fill up your house full of mud. And then this guy says, this guy says to him, he says, why did you only bring 20 Hasidim? Go get another 200-300. Let's fill up the palace full of mud. That's the story. The story is unbelievable, but it's true. I've heard it from the greatest rabbis in the world, and I've read it in the greatest, holiest Kabbalistic books. What's it saying? What is it teaching us? There is absolutely nothing that you do that it doesn't get counted. Even the mud, even the MUD gets counted. So sometimes we have such a difficult days or months or years like we've had for a year and a half now. And sometimes we have difficult lives and we go, oh my God, does it really even matter? Does God really even care that I helped that old lady? Does God even care that I spoke nicely to my mother? You should know everything, absolutely everything gets put in this scale, everything. If the mud gets counted, then Allah has kama bekama kol shekin, how much more so when you respect your parents? That's the first part of the class. There's a second part. Now I'm going to tell you a story you've heard many times since you were little kids. If you never heard this story, I'll tell it to you. You probably heard it, but then I'm going to explain it to you in a different way. I think the craziest, let me repeat that again. You'll never hear a rabbi talking like this. The craziest, by far the craziest story in the Bible goes like this. Abraham is an old man and he just circumcised himself. And he's waiting on the third day. And, you know, circumcision is the most painful, operations are the most painful on the third day. And he's a little disappointed that he doesn't have any orchim, he doesn't have any guests. So he goes outside and he suddenly sees 3 Arabs. And he runs over to them and he tells the Arabs, please sit down. He washes their feet, he washes their hand, and he brings them all kinds of food. Does anybody know what Abraham was doing 1 minute before all this happened? He was talking to Borei Olam. He was talking to the creator of the world. I think this is the craziest story I've ever heard in my life. You left the creator of the world, Borei Olam, Ishtabach Shemo, the creator of the world. You're talking to God one-on-one, and you left God to take care of 3 people who it looks like there were 3 Arabs that were walking by. Later on, we find out that were angels, but it doesn't matter. Abraham thought at that moment there were Arabs to wash their feet, wash their hands, to give them something to eat. I think this is a crazy story in the whole Bible. Not only that, says the Zohar HaKadosh, the Kabbalah, the Kabbalistic books, the greatest Kabbalistic book says not only did God not get insulted, if I would have been there and I would have been God, I would have been so upset, I would have walked away, never see Abraham again. I would have said, Abraham, you know, well, what kind of friend are you? You know, you left me running here, you know, what's going on? The Kabbalah says not only did God not get upset, he was smiling. And this lasted 9 hours. For 9 hours, he took care of these people, fed them, cleaned their feet, cleaned their hands, and he gave them where to rest. He found shade for them. He actually brought them tongue from cows. It was an amazing thing. Not only did God not get insulted, but God was watching there and smiling for 9 hours, says the Kabbalah. I've always been bothered by this. If that was me, I would have gotten insulted, walk away, never come back. What's wrong with you, Abraham? Yet God loved it. God loved every second of it. Why? Listen to the answer. Because every human being is different and every human being has a mitzvah. Everybody has 613 commandments. But every one of us has one mitzvah that is our mitzvah. That's your mitzvah. You know what Abraham's mitzvah was? Achnasat orchim, to take care of other people. And that's why God stayed behind and watched it and loved it and enjoyed it. Had it been Isaac, God would have turned around and walked away, never come back, because Isaac's mitzvah commandment was to serve God. It's a different commandment. He prayed. He never left the land of Israel. His job was to become eventually like a sacrifice to God. Jacob was to learn Torah. It was a difference. So if it would have happened to Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rachel, whatever, God would have walked away, never come back. But it happened to Abraham. And that's why God stood around. So second lesson is that everybody has a mitzvah in this world. I am very lucky. I am one of the luckiest people in the world that I know my mitzvah. The problem today is most people do not know their mitzvah. Why? Because we have no prophets anymore. Life has become very complicated. It used to be very easy. You would go to the prophet and you would say, Mr. Prophet, what should I do? What should I do? Should I be an engineer or should I be a fisherman? Should I live in Central America? Or should I marry Lupita or should I marry wifey? Bela, with the prophet, it was very easy. Should I live in New York where people walk into stores and they start shooting? Or should I live or should I live in, in Michigan, in Kansas City, in Dallas, should I live in Slovenia? Should I live in Cozumel? Where should I live? Today life is very hard. We don't know what to do. We don't know who to marry. We don't know where to live. So we don't know how, So it used to be very easy life. You go to the prophet would answer questions. So I'm very lucky. My last name is Lashak. Lashak means Leshem Kodesh. It's one of the 24 families of Levites who served in the temple. Lashak is an abbreviation for Leshem Kodesh, one of the 24 original Levite families who served in the temple. And actually what they did was teach Torah to teenagers, to children, to young people. So when I went to yeshiva and I extended my hand to one of the greatest people in the world, they said to me, what's your name? I said, Lashak. Oh, Lashak, you're a Levite. I said, yeah, how do you know? Oh, not only are you Levite, but let me show you what your ancestors did for thousands of years. I thought I was going to be a doctor. I thought I was going to be a microsurgeon. And they said, no, anybody can be a microsurgeon. You're supposed to do this. I'm like, what? I don't want to do that. I want to be a microsurgeon. And then I met another rabbi, very famous, and they said to me, oh, Lashak, you're going to teach Torah to kids. I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't even want to be a rabbi. I don't even want to teach anything. No, that's what you're going to do. And then I met a third one and a fourth one, and they all told me the same thing. And then finally, here I am, 40 years later. This is what I'm doing. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a microsurgeon. I'm just a glorified babysitter. But I know my mitzvah. I know my mitzvah. Most people do not know their mitzvah. So, the problem is, what do you do if you don't know your mitzvah? What's going to be after 120 years? You go up to heavenly court, and they're going to say to you, oh my God, how come you didn't open I don't know, how come you didn't open a new hospital? in Beersheba. Well, I didn't know I had to do that, but that was your mitzvah. How come you, I don't know, how come you didn't I don't know, how come you didn't become a flight nurse and saved a lot of people in a train wreck? I didn't know, I had no idea. So most people don't know what their mitzvah is. So what do? It's not fair. After 120 years, they're going to ask you a lot of questions when you get up there. Did you honor your father and your mother? Did you cheat in business? Did you set time to learn Torah? Did you bring children to the world? Did you wait for the Messiah? And the last question they're going to ask you is, did you remove suffering from the world? And they say, the Kabbalists say, the first one and the last one, honoring parents and removing suffering from the world, are the most important. So if you say, yes, I did remove suffering from the world. You know, I used to sell falafel every day, but you know what? The lady who didn't have any money, who came every week with her children, I would make her a couple falafels and she would not go hungry for Shabbat. Another guy is like, you know, what did you do with your life? You know, I don't know. I sold, you know, garments. You sold garments? That's what a waste. No, wait. Listen, you know, nobody in my neighborhood was cold in the winter. I took care of them. Everybody had a garment. So it doesn't matter what you do in your life. It doesn't matter how you make a living. It's how much suffering are you going to remove from this world? So they ask you one question when you get to heavenly court after 120. Did you remove suffering from the world? And you better answer yes. And that's it. What is my purpose in this world? Today is different than when God created the world. My purpose in this world has many parts. One is to get close to God and enjoy an attachment, a relationship with God. That's one. Another one is to have pleasures, but it doesn't mean the pleasures that you're thinking. It means that if I really would connect with God, I would have incredible pleasures, which have to do with spiritual pleasures. And the third thing is, I have to remove suffering from the world because Odom Nivra Leoila Leachrina, man was created today so we can help others. So, you know, my friend Lexi, you know, once in a while when I'm down and, you know, I didn't have my shawarma, so she comes over and she talks to me nicely and she tells me a joke about why Mexicans never won a medal in the Olympics, or, you know, my friend Dylan or my friend Rebecca or my friend Nicole or my friend Noam or Rachel or Shore or Michelle or Shachar. Shachar may make me a milkshake, no, with peanut butter, because I don't like peanut butter. I'm sorry. But maybe she'll make me a coconut almond fudge, or maybe she'll make me a chocolate, you know, surprise milkshake. And then I was sad, but now Shachar made me such an incredible milkshake. Or maybe, you know, maybe John will help me get one day on a beautiful trip in Judah Fellowships. And instead of being all sad because of COVID, then I'm happier. So what's the purpose? What is my purpose in this world? My purpose in this world is to remove suffering. My purpose in this world is to get close to God and enjoy from that attachment. My purpose in this world is to have pleasures, spiritual pleasures that you only can get if you really get close to God. And that's why you see these people, you know, sometimes like, oh, this guy, you know, why does he wake up every morning at 6 a.m.? I have a neighbor of mine asked me the other day, he says, he doesn't know I'm a rabbi. That's okay, that's fine. It's better that way. He's a weird guy. His name is Ryan. Ryan is my next door neighbor. He's been there for 30 years. He inherited the house from his grandfather. His grandfather was one of the original stock owners of T-Mobile. Very wealthy man. He gave it all to his grandchild. His grandchild's never worked a day in his life. He has like 10 cars. He has like 20 boats. He has 30 jet skis. And he always says to me like weird things. It's like, why, you know, You know, it's like, why you send your kids to private schools? How do I explain that to him? You know, well, he says to me the other day, he says, I see you wake up every day. I don't know why he's up. He says, I see you wake up every morning. You leave at 6 a.m. Where do you go? I said, I go to pray. He goes, you cannot pray from your bed? I go, yes, I can. So he goes, so why do you go? I said, because I want to connect with God. I want to go to his house and I want to feel his presence. And that's when the conversation ends and he goes back to his 30 jet skis and his 20 cars because there's nothing else to talk about. My friends, what is your purpose in this world? It doesn't matter what you do. You can do whatever you want with your life. You can go to any college you want and get any major you want. Just make sure that you remove suffering from the world. I have friends who give blankets. I have other friends who give refrigerators. I have two friends who help me open soup kitchens in Argentina. I have other friends that I have a friend of mine who helps me. We have a couple widows and orphans that we know. We have to make sure that they have what to eat. You know, so when somebody asks me after 120 years, what are you the most proud of? Probably the soup kitchens and the orphans and the widows. So that's it. That's all you do. That's it. What is your purpose in this world? And I know because you are from this incredible group, Judah Fellowship, that every one of you is amazing, incredible, and every one of you will leave their mark in this world and you will change the lives of thousands of people. That's it. That's my piece. Questions, comments, jokes, recipes, milkshakes.
Amazing. Milkshakes would be a great way to finish this off. Next year when we do these things, we got to plan for like shipping milkshakes from Shachar out to everybody before. Lexi's like super excited. I've never seen people so excited about one of my ideas before. Okay, let's it up. I know there's some questions. Lexi's been posting some questions in the chat. You want to ask your questions aloud so everybody can hear you?
Sure. Okay, so my first question is, so in Heavenly Court, if we don't complete our mitzvah, because you said they're going to ask us those 4 questions, right? Did we honor our mother and 6? I'm sorry, I can't count. Did we honor our mother and father? Did we remove suffering? Did we bring children into the world? Did we not cheat in business? And so I guess I only remember 4.
Did we wait for the Messiah?
Oh, yeah.
Did we learn Torah and did we remove suffering?
Okay, so let's say we answer yes to all of those, right? What, like,
you don't want to answer yes to all of them. You don't want to answer yes that you cheated in business.
Oh, right. Let's say we answered no to that one, but yes to the rest of them, right? Okay. We did the correct thing there. But we didn't do like our mitzvah. You said everyone has one mitzvah that's their mitzvah to do. Can we still get into the Garden of Eden? Like, can we still, is Hashem going to be like, that was enough because you don't know what your mitzvah is?
Again, great question. Again, most people, 98% of the world, 99% don't know what their mitzvah is. So as long as they stick to these things, they honor their parents, they didn't cheat in business, they learned Torah, they waited for the Messiah. But the most important ones is to remove suffering from the world. Humans were created so they can help others. God made you very special, Lexi. So you have this incredible charisma. You're very sweet. You're very kind. And there must be a lot of girls out there in the world. You must know at least 5, 10 girls who are going through rough times in life. And you spend a little couple minutes with them. You talk to them. They just unload all their problems and you just listen. If you would do that, you have no idea how much reward you have in the world to come. It's unbelievable the reward that you have in the world just by listening to people's problems. People call me all the time from all over the world and they tell me their problems. I have news for you, Lexi. I don't even know what to tell half of these people. 80, 90% of these people, I can't help them. Their problems are so huge, so unbelievable. There's almost nothing I can do. But you know what? They call me and they cry, and I cry with them. And somehow it helps them. I have news for you. Most of the time, I cannot even do anything for them. But just because they have someone to call and they cry and I cry, it makes a difference to them. So that's it. But yes, but God is so, what I'm trying to say, God, even every mud, every little thing that you did in your life counts. That's why sometimes people get so, there's so much despair in the world. People are like, oh my God, what's the purpose of all these? Oh my God, does it really matter? Is God really is God really keeping tally? Does it really make a difference to be good? Does it really make a difference if you're a decent human being? Yes, 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 and yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know if I answered your question. Did I answer your question or just babbling? By the way, I'm the one who drank water in Mexico. I'm the one who should be forgetting things, not you.
Yes, you answered my question.
Okay, if not, tell me no, and then we'll start again. Okay, who's next?
Okay, I think let's go with Jessica Yerushalmi. You're up next.
I love the last name. Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. Yerushalmi. Oh my God. You like Yerushalmi Kugel?
Sorry,
You like Yerushalmi Kugel?
I'm Sephardic, so I've never had kugel. I have like Persian food though, like if you're interested.
Sephardim had much better food than Ashkenazim. My mother was Sephardim. My father was Ashkenazi. And yes, thanks God, Sephardi food is much better. But listen, the Ashkenazim also have the little things. Yerushalmi Kugel is pretty decent. You should try it.
Okay, I have to try it just because my name's on it. Like,
John, if you're not gonna mail a milkshake, mail the girl like Yerushalmi Kugel. Come on, what's going on over here? Nicole, help the girl. Yes, I'm sorry, Jessica.
No problem. So I had a question. I don't know if it relates directly to this, but my question was kind of on like this divide between like free will and God's will. Like you say, we're going to be asked these questions about what we did, but then we also know that everything is God's will and what he wants. So to what extent are we responsible for the things we do? So say somebody makes a decision that causes them suffering, like, are they to blame for that, or was it God's will for them to suffer? And that's a very simplified version of the question, but like, to what extent are we in control of our own outcomes if everything's God's will?
That's an amazing question, Jessica, and we could be talking about this for 5 hours. It's one of my favorite topics. It's what is called Bechira Chofshi, free will, which is one of the greatest gifts God ever gave humanity. I think we spoke a little bit once in this class about this, but I'll explain it to you in a different way. There is a very advanced answer, and there is the answer that I like to give. The advanced answer says the Talmud, Akol bidei shamayim, chutz meirat shamayim. Everything is in the hands of heaven, except if you fear heaven or not. Hakol bidei shamayim, everything is in the hands of heaven. Chutz meirat shamayim, with the exception of if you fear heaven or not, which means God makes every decision except one. If you want to be close to God or not, if you want a relationship with God or not, if you want to be, like they call it, religious observant, or if you want to keep the mitzvot or not, that's up to you. Everything else is up to God. That's a very, very advanced answer. I want you to know about it. Don't worry about that. That's, oh my God. I once sat in yeshiva trying to understand this by the greatest minds in the world for 3 months. Okay, so don't worry about it. Let me explain it to you in a different way. Yes, God makes most of the decisions. Look at me. I'm fat. I'm ugly. I'm Mexican. I was, whatever. I don't have a choice. It's not like suddenly now I can be skinny. I could, but it would be a lot of work. So let's say I can, you know, I would have to, that would be really hard. But, it's not like God suddenly I'm going to wake up tomorrow and be beautiful. I can't. I'm an ugly guy. What can I do? I will always be ugly. I'm Mexican. I'll always be Mexican. Who my parents are, God gave me. Where I was born, God gave me. How tall I am, God gave me. How smart I am, God gave me. I was born against my will, and against my will, I will die. So where is the free will? Where is the free choice? So listen carefully. I was dealt a deck of cards. Who my parents, who my siblings, how smart, how short, where I was born, etc. I was dealt a deck of cards. How I played that deck of cards is up to me. Okay, I'm going to tell you something very powerful. Please do not misunderstand me. Please, I hope and beg you don't misunderstand me. I'm not, I am saying this in a very, very serious way. I'm not trying, I'm not making fun of anybody, but I want to tell you a story. When my son Gabriel, I don't know, some of you I think know my son Gabriel, when my son Gabriel he's 24, when he was around 6 years old, we're sitting at the Shabbat table, and it was Sunday morning, and the guys who come cut the grass start cutting the grass in my house outside in the backyard. And my son Gabriel says to me, he says, "Isn't Javier from Mexico?" I said, "Yes." "And aren't you from Mexico?" I said, "Yes." And he said to me, "How come he's cutting the grass and not you?" It's a good question. It's a good question. It's a good question. Okay. Now I'm going to stop here, tell you something also related to this, and I'll come back. When my son was like around 4 years old, I threw him a big birthday party, and we went to Nickelmania. He invited like 10, 12 of his friends, and they went to play arcades. And it's a place, it used to be you put nickels. Today doesn't exist. Today is very expensive to do this. But you give every kid a bucket of 10 nickels and they play, for hours. It was amazing. So I took my son for his birthday, 4 or 5 years old, and we took 8 of his friends to Nickelmania. And my son, when he gets off the minivan, the van, he turns around to all his friends and he says to all his friends, "My dad is Mexican, but it's okay. Don't worry. It's not contagious." Why am I telling you this? I wanted you to laugh a little bit because it's going to be a very serious topic. And I wanted you to hear the following. My son asked an amazing question. Please don't get me wrong. But what's the difference between me and Javier? Actually, Javier was born very near where I was born. So how come Javier is cutting the grass? Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Why is Javier cutting the grass for, I don't know, $15 an hour? I don't know, $20 an hour. I don't know, whatever it is. And how come I'm not? That was my son's question. So I have to think here, what do I answer my son? And I told my son the following. I was very lucky that my parents pushed me very hard to get an education. And that's why I don't have to cut grass. Doesn't mean I'm better than Javier in any way whatsoever. It just means that I was very, very lucky and I got an education. And I worked hard in college to be able to get an education, and I worked hard in yeshiva to be able to get an education. What I'm trying to say to you, Jessica, is God gives you a deck of cards. He deals you a deck of cards. You can sit there and cry for the rest of your life and say, well, you know, what am I going to do? Or you can try to make yourself better. I could have sat there and said, I was born in Mexico and, you know, I'm going to cut grass the rest of my life. But I didn't do that. I came to America. I went to the best yeshivas I could. I went to the best colleges I could. I graduated with honors from University of Johns Hopkins University, Masters in Finance, and I have many other degrees. What I'm trying to say to you is you have the power to play the cards that you were given the way you want. You play the cards the way you want. God gave you an island. Your parents, your siblings is an island. Everything, you're an island. Jessica Yerushalmi is an island. Your island is different than Noam's island, than Rebecca's island, the Rachel's island. And what you do in your island is your business. You can sit there in your island and just have coconuts the rest of your life until you die. Or you can actually find plants that actually are medicinal and you can save thousands of people's lives. You decide what to do with your island. So to answer your question is both. Does God know everything you're going to do? Yes. Does he make decisions for you? No. Did he give you the tools? Yes. What you do with those tools is up to you. I hope I answered your question. And if not, tell me and we'll find another way to explain.
No, I definitely do. Thank you so much.
Okay, I think we've got time for maybe one more question here. So Noam, I know you've been waiting for a while. Go for it.
Hi, Ravi. I was just curious, talking a lot about finding a meta. What's the strategy for finding that meta? Like, how do you know your strengths?
The mitzvah, to find your mitzvah,
Yeah.
that's very hard today. We have no prophets, but I'll give you a hint. What you're asking is an amazing question, Noam. So let me explain something to you. This is very, very, very important in life, not only Judaism, but if you grasp this, it will help you in life tremendously. Every one of us, Noam, is like have you ever been in a car? Have you ever seen when you lift the hood in your car, there is a battery and the battery has a positive charge and a negative charge? You have an idea what I'm saying? Every human being has a positive charge and a negative charge. Meaning, what does that mean? This goes back to a little bit of what Jessica asked. Jessica, you are given free will and free choice. You can do good or evil. And based on your good and evil, Noam, you will be rewarded or punished. God created a world where you, based on your decisions, you get either rewarded or punished. So Noam, you, me, everybody, the 7.5 billion, 8 billion people in the world, every person has ma'alot, positive charges, and chesronot, negative charges. Every person has things that they're amazing at. And every person has things, don't tell me, I'm not a priest, I don't want to hear, thanks God, I don't want to hear your confessions. Every person has things that they are embarrassed of. If your mom would know this or your grandmother would know this about you, you would be so embarrassed. If the world would know this about you, you would be embarrassed. All of us have that. It's called a negative charge, chesronot. And we also have some things that, oh my God, we're so good at. So God gave us this, so to speak, to balance. So we should be able to have an equal world and an equal good and bad on us. So when we decide to do something, God can reward us and punish us. If there would be more good than evil, then God could not reward us. It wouldn't be fair. If there would be more evil than good, then it wouldn't be fair. And that's why God creates each one of us with, so to speak, good positive charge and negative charges. And it's up to us to build in the positive charges, become better and better, and learn how to diminish or control the negative charges. And that's the story. Meaning, Noam, don't tell me, I'm not your priest, don't tell me your private things, but you know, Noam, you know what you're amazing at and what you need to work on. And continue to, in that part that you're amazing, continue to be more amazing. And that part that you need to work on, continue to work to make it lower. That's how you figure out. So I'll give you an example. People always tell me, says, Rabbi, it was very easy for you. You like public speaking. You like to learn Torah. You like to teach Torah. You like to travel. So it was a no-brainer for you to do NCSY. You understand? You take your positive charges. Oh, what are my gifts? Well, I speak many languages. I am a public speaker. I love to teach Torah. So you build on that and you create your life based on those positive charges. My job did not exist. I invented my job. My job 30 some years ago did not exist. So I get like, okay, I'm going around like, oh my God, what should I do? Well, let me find a job where I can use all the things that have my positive charges and build on them. But every person can do that. My son asked me the other day, he's going to be a flight nurse. But he once asked me, maybe I shouldn't do this. It's too hard. Maybe I just become an accountant. It's so much easier to be an accountant. You can make money. There's always a job, wherever you are in the world. Even, if there is a pandemic, you can work from your house, And I said to him, why would you do that? You're a people's person. If you're a people's person and you're going to go in a basement and work by yourself every single day and count other people's money, that's a horrible thing. If you're not a people's person and you don't mind going into a private room by yourself for 8, 10, 12 hours and you don't mind counting other people's money, for me, that's Gehenna. That's the worst thing you could ever do in the world to me. He says, you would be punishing me by me counting other people's money. If it's my money, okay. But if I'm counting other people's money, that's Gehenna. That's the worst thing you could ever do to me, Noam. So you have to see your positive charges and your negative charges, and you have to build on that. So that's how people decide what to do with their lives. There's an amazing book out there. It's called What Color is My Parachute? Have you ever heard of it, Noam? Write this down, kids. Everybody write it down. Kids, kids, your men, ladies, woman, señoritas, señores. There is an amazing book. It's called What Color is My Parachute? And it's an amazing book. You should read it. Go buy it in Amazon. You buy it used for $3. What color is my parachute? And it tells you, the whole book is created so a person finds out what they should be doing with their lives. It's an amazing book. And there's even one, is a workbook, and you figure out. So people sit there and they go through the book, the workbook, and they realize what they're good at, what they're not good at. And with this, they help them decide what to spend the rest of their lives with. When I retire, God willingly, I'm never going to retire, but if I ever retire, I'll have to read the book again and figure out what to do with my life. What color is my parachute? Did I answer your question, Noam?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Rabbi Leshak. We hate to close it off. There's so many other questions that we know are here. I see Lexi has her hand raised, and there's some things in the chat. So for any questions we didn't get to, Rabbi Leshak, they can email you, right?
They can always email me.
Okay, so it's LeshakI. Is that your email?
The LeshakI@ncsy.org or ileshak@gmail.
So I just put that in the chat for everyone. I know we've got some good questions, even some recipes. You asked for recipes, Rabbi Leshak. I think there's a milkshake recipe in there. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for this class. I know a lot of you have been here for, I think, the whole series. So it's really great to have this group of people who come back week after week. You know, Rabbi Leshak has such wonderful inspiration to share with us, and we are so appreciative of you all for being here. And yeah, stay tuned for more updates on the continuing classes with Rabbi Leshak. Have a great night, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you
Rabbi.
very much, Rabbi
Thank
Leshak. Take
you.
care, everybody.
Thank you,
My
Rabbi.
pleasure, my honor. So good to see
Yeah.
everybody. Take care. Stay healthy. Stay safe.
I mean.